If you used to have your shit together and now you don't, this video is for you. I know because I have been you for the last year. And I coach people on the exact thing that I stopped doing. Hey there, I'm Tara. I'm a burnout and career coach. And the first step of my entire burnout recovery system is restoring your baseline well being. It's centered on 5 core pillars: sleep, nutrition, hydration, movement, and your environment. I teach this to every client because we need a strong foundation before we can jump into the career strategy piece. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you why I stopped doing all 5 pillars. But first, I need you to understand why this step is more important than anything else you'll try in your burnout recovery journey. When you are burned out, your nervous system is in overdrive. Everything feels urgent, small things feel existential, and your patience is gone. It's not that you're just tired. You literally cannot think clearly. And every week that you stay in that state, it makes it harder to remember who you were before and harder to tap into that brain reserve. And we've got research that backs this up. Maslach's burnout framework identifies emotional exhaustion as one of the core indicators of physical health. That includes headaches, chronic fatigue, GI issues, sleep disturbances. Your body is essentially stuck in a stress response that it can't get out of. Let's just talk about sleep for a minute. We know from research that folks that are in clinical burnout are also experiencing disrupted sleep architecture. That includes reduced slow wave sleep and impaired arousal regulation. But what's important to note is that sleep doesn't just magically improve once the stressor is removed. You have to actively rebuild it. And when you do and your sleep becomes more regular, your emotional reactivity drops. And when your meals are consistent, your energy starts improving. When hydration improves, your brain fog lifts. When movement is gentle but frequent, your tension has somewhere else to go besides stay in your body. And when your environment is calmer, your nervous system stops scanning for additional threats all day. None of this fixes burnout itself, but it creates the conditions for you to successfully fix the burnout. Most people want to skip this part because it feels too basic, but then they wonder why every big decision still feels overwhelming. It's because the foundation hasn't been laid yet. What most of us get wrong when we're in burnout is that we focus on the career strategy piece. We assume that by fixing that first, everything else will trickle down and all the physiological responses will go away. So we start job searching, set some boundaries at work, and start renegotiating our role. But all from a body that hasn't slept in months and a brain that's running on the caffeine that we grabbed on the way out the door. That is completely backwards. And I know it's backwards because I was there myself. So here's what happened in my life. Last year was not a great year health-wise. It started with a pulmonary embolism at the end of 2024, and then meniscus repair surgery back in April of 2025, which then led to significant weight gain because of said knee surgery, and ultimately depression settled in after all of that. I am on the mend now, but somewhere in all of that mess, I really let go of all of my baseline habits. I stopped cooking. I'm barely drinking any water, and I really got addicted to my phone. Plus, my house became a disaster, and I only moved when it was necessary. And here I was talking to clients every single week, coaching them through step 1, knowing good and well I wasn't doing any of it myself. That's really when I realized that knowing the system and knowing that it works doesn't protect you from needing the system. I mean, I built this framework from my own experience after burning out in corporate. I rebuilt from scratch. I launched this practice from that experience. And then life happened and the basics just eroded like they do for everyone else. Clearly, I am not exempt to this. So I have decided to do something about it publicly. Because accountability helps, and I know I'm not the only one who's let the basics go. So let me introduce you to 75 Restored, my personal 75-day challenge. I am focusing on the 5 pillars. I have picked one habit per pillar to really hone in on every single day, and I'm going to do that for 75 days. I'm starting June 1st. The idea actually came from watching Mel, another creator here on YouTube. I'll tag her below. She's doing her own challenge. She's calling it 75 Dedicated. And she really inspired me to do this myself. Because watching her publicly commit to this made me realize that I need to do the same. But I wanted to build it around the system that I teach and fully believe in, but I stopped living. Now, I'm sure you've heard of 75 Hard. This is not that, and I'll explain why in a second. As I've mentioned, those 5 pillars come exactly from step 1 of my burnout recovery system. They're essentially the 5 areas that make up your physiological foundation: sleep, nutrition, hydration, movement, and your environment. So here's what I'm committing to for each one. For sleep, we're doing no screens after 8:30. I already brick my phone at 8:30, so that's not really the problem for me. What I've realized is that my iPad has become the loophole because I've been using it to read through my Kindle app and I end up finding myself on every other social media platform instead of actually reading. So for 75 days, the phone goes away, the iPad goes away. We are going completely no screens in the evening. Now, for nutrition, I want to cook one meal a day with actual ingredients and some sort of assembly required, which means microwave reheating doesn't count. Air fryer reheating doesn't count. I need to actually use some part of my kitchen that's like a built-in part of my kitchen. For hydration, I want to do 80 ounces of water every day. I used to do 120 ounces without any problems, but somehow that has slipped through all of this mess. And so I need to be realistic about the goal before we just jump on into 120 again. Now for movement, I'm focusing on 30 minutes of something intentional. That means walking the dogs doesn't count because I already have to do that. So I'm either going to do a YouTube dance video or get on my Peloton or do my own like separate walk outside of what the dogs need. And for environment, I'm going to declutter or clean one area of my home every day. That may not be anything major. It could just be like my nightstand drawer. But the ultimate purpose is to stop having this pile up of things that I need to go through and having the visual clutter around my house. Now, if you're not familiar, 75 Hard is a lot more intense than that. First of all, it requires two 45-minute workouts every day. You're supposed to drink a gallon of water every day. It has you following a strict diet without any kind of flexibility. It challenges you to read 10 pages a day, which is one of the more realistic habits within the challenge. And the thing that makes this so strict is that if you mess up and miss any of those challenges or requirements, then you have to start over again. I just don't see that being helpful. And in fact, there's been a ton of research from like the Cleveland Clinic, CNN, even Penn State Health. They've all kind of expressed different levels of concern with how intense this is, how unrealistic, and even perhaps, against some guidelines depending on your individual needs, especially with the fitness requirements. Ultimately, it's not really based on any kind of exercise science or on behavioral research, as far as I know. That's why 75 Restored is built on a much different philosophy. It is evidence-based, it's personalized because you get to pick your one habit within those 5 pillars, and there's no hard reset. So if you miss a day, okay, we're just going to take that as data and we're going to move on. I can tell you one thing, I sure as hell am not going to start my 75 days all over again if I mess up, because I know I'm going to mess up. I mean, I'm actually traveling for a few days in June and then I'll be gone again in July, which means some of these habits I'm not going to be able to do. And the old perfectionist in me would have said, okay, well then maybe don't start this challenge until you know you're going to be home for 75 days straight. But realistically, we're trying to build a foundation, which means I'm not going to be sitting at home every single day for the rest of my life. So we need to build habits that can kind of ebb and flow with us depending on what we have going on in our lives. So I'm better off just preparing. I know the trips are coming. I know what I'm doing for the challenge, and I'm going to do the best I can and move on with my day. My focus is on the practice of it because I want to get my foundation back. Now, I'll be honest, I don't want to do this alone. So I would love to have you join me. And because of that, I created a free Notion tracker that you can tailor to your own habits based on each of the 5 pillars. I'm going to try to post vlogs every week with some updates on what's working, what's not working, what I'm struggling with, just to hold myself accountable, but also to share my experience with you. Just remember that this is about the practice. This is me running my own system on myself because I know I need it. I would love to have you join me, especially if you've let some of your basic routines kind of fall to the wayside. Perhaps this is the time for you to focus on yourself again. The purpose of this is not to completely overhaul your life. Remember, we are making this work within the parameters and the lifestyle and the season of life that we're in. The tracker is free, and I'm going to link it in the description below. You can grab it, make it yours, add your own habits to it, and come do this with me starting June 1st. I teach the complete process in my course, Your 6-Step Burnout Recovery System. I'll go ahead and add that link in the description too. And if you've made it this far, be sure to subscribe, hit like, and maybe send this to someone that you'd want to do 75 Restored with. And drop a comment telling me what your 5 habits are going to be. I want to see what you're committing to. So this is 75 Restored. 75 days, 5 pillars, 1 habit per pillar. It's time I get my foundation back. I'll see you back here for the week 1 updates.